Origin of Valentine's Day by Big Sister Nene. Alright, just before we get started with today's lesson, there was a couple things I wanted to cover before we get further into this lesson. And the first thing I want to cover is about the word love. And I want to lay down a foundation here because there is nothing wrong with the word love. There's nothing wrong with having love for someone. And there is also nothing wrong with showing someone that you care for them by expressing this word love in action. Let's take a look here at Yochanan or John 3:16. For Yah so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Okay, and so we know that people claim that this holiday called Valentine's Day comes from expressing love to one another. But what I want to do is talk about the dangers, and the problem arises when man turns from the ways of Yah and follows after his own heart. So turning to the ways of the heathen, pagans, and followers of Satan that are not of Yah is dangerous. Okay, so let's take a look here at 2 Kings chapter 17 verse 11. It says, And there they burnt incense in all the high places, as did the heathen whom Yah carried away before them, and wrought wicked things to provoke Yah to anger. Now let's take a look at 2 Kings chapter 17 verse 15. And this is talking about the children of Israel right here. So it says, And they rejected his statutes, which means, laws, and his covenant that he made with their fathers, and his testimonies which he testified against them. And they followed vanity, and became vain, and went after the heathen that were round about them, concerning whom Yah had charged them that they should not do like them. Alright, we got it right here. It's plain as day. We aren't supposed to be doing as the world's doing out there, trying to figure out how much Valentine's Day candy you can eat and buy up. But let's take a look here at something else. This is coming out of 2 Kings chapter 21 verse 2. And it says, Manasseh did that which was evil in the sight of Yah, after the abominations of the heathen whom Yah cast out before the children of Israel. So, as I read these scriptures, y'all may be saying, well, what exactly do these scriptures have to do with Valentine's Day, and how do they fit in? And we're going to get there, because we're going to talk about how these people are serving everything but Yah as they go through these rituals of, just buying candy, and, now it's like this whole whitewashed. It's not exactly what they did when the origins of Valentine's Day started. They change it and put a new name on it, and, make it a little more, I guess, quote-unquote, fun for the people, where it's not something that people are going to really, they think it's like fun innocence, or, is not, they always find an excuse to find something, quote-unquote, not wrong with it, as they say. So, let's take a look here at 2 Chronicles chapter 33, verse 9. It says, So Manasseh made Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem to error, and to do worse than the heathen, whom Yah had destroyed before the children of Israel. So as we see, once the children of Israel know what they're supposed to do, Yah is going to hold us more accountable, and we are expected to be examples. Therefore, we should not be acting worse than they act. Okay? So let's take a look at a couple questions that we're going to ask before we get started with the origins of Valentine's Day, and then after you find out about the origins of Valentine's Day. So here's a couple questions. Where does Valentine's Day come from? Does the origin of Valentine's Day have anything to do with love? Does the origins of Valentine's Day have anything to do with Yah? And if you are trying to serve Yah, is Valentine's Day something you should be celebrating? Food for thought. So let's get started here on the origins of Valentine's Day. The mythology of Romans taught that the empire began with two orphan twin boys named Romulus and Remus. Born in the Roman Empire, when Romulus and Remus were newborns, it was said they were found, nursed, and raised by a female wolf, also known as a she-wolf. This story caused them to be known as the wolf-suckling founders of the great empire. Their importance to Rome was observed by a national day of purification associated with the wolf, which is Latin for lupus, that saved their lives. So each year on February 15th in ancient Rome, a fertility festival was held known as Lupercalia, to welcome in spring with cleaning, celebrations of the Roman god of agriculture, and also to pay homage to Romulus and Remus.
Long ago, in the kingdom of Latium, the good king Numitor, known for his wisdom and generosity, was dethroned by his evil brother, Prince Amulius. At the same time, Amulius banished Numitor's daughter, the beautiful Princess Silvia, to the temple of Mars, the god of war. There, thought Amulius, she would never have sons who might reclaim the throne. But his plan didn't work as expected, for Silvia married Mars, and somewhat later, the couple had twin sons, whom they named Romulus and Remus. It did not take long for news of the twins' birth to reach Amulius, who immediately ordered two of his servants to kidnap the newborns and drown them in the Tiber River. That very night, the two men crept into the room where the twins lay sleeping, and once there, began to carry out their terrible mission. The next morning, the servants reported to Amulius that Romulus and Remus were dead, but in fact, they were not. The twins' cradle bobbed and dipped like a tiny boat in the rushing waters, but it did not overturn as expected, nor did it sink. Instead, the cradle eventually came to rest in a clump of rushes. After a while, the babies awakened and began to cry from cold and hunger. Now, as it happened, a she-wolf was nearby that morning and heard the newborns cry. She was curious and went to investigate. The animal was puzzled by these tiny humans, but she sensed their despair, and although she feared people, her motherly instincts overcame her, and she carried the two youngsters to her cave, where she reared them as her own. As the months passed, Romulus and Remus grew strong and healthy, and in time they began to venture out farther and farther from their cave. One day, a shepherd named Faustulus noticed the boys as they chased each other down a path. The shepherd was struck by their curious clothing and their wolf-like gait. He followed them to their cave, and was, to say the very least, astonished at what he saw. Now Faustulus and his wife were childless, so later that night, while the wolves slept, he came to take the youngsters to his home. For many years, Faustulus and his wife took care of the twins as if they were their own sons, although at first the boys found it difficult to eat as humans. In time, Romulus and Remus grew strong and handsome. Even so, they never completely lost all their wild, wolf-like ways. They helped Faustulus with his herding, and when they weren't in the pastures, the twins took to ambushing thieves who had stolen livestock and food. Then they returned to the